Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy, and my guest today is Tom Schueneman, who I met through Podmatch. And we talked many months ago, and things
Yes.
got kind of crazy. But so Tom is goodness, you've been doing this for a while, but you are writing books. You're a journalist. You now have a podcast. You're 21 plus episodes in.
Yes.
Welcome to Grounded in Maine, Tom. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks, Amy. And yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm really curious about I there are so many things. So one of the things is, what in I mean, how many years have you been doing the sustainability world, like climate change?
So I launched globalwarmingisreal.com in 2005. It,
Okay,
so a while. What is
20 years.
that? 20 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, thanks. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so 20 years you've this has been really your focus. But before that, you were in music, which is super fun.
Yeah, I was. So and actually I was so let me back up and give you the whole story if you want.
Please.
And yeah, I was trained as a musician. I played piano, trombone, and a little bit of guitar, but mostly trombone actually. And then I was always into electronics and things. And a buddy of mine had literally a garage band there, and they had this little cheap PA system, and I became their sound man. And I realized you could make, you know, there's only so many trombone players out there, and you got to be really, really, really good. I wasn't bad, but I wasn't that good. And you can make a lot more money as a sound engineer. So I got training in sound engineering and had several jobs as a sound engineer. I did well, I don't know if your listeners might remember Jesse Colin Young, who did, yeah, Come On People, Smile on Your Brother. I
Yeah.
did a few short tours with him. That was a lot of fun, and I did a sound for a show in San Francisco for almost 30 years. It was the longest running musical review, I believe. At least that's what they'll tell you in history. It was called Beach Blanket Babylon. Some people might actually recognize that because it's pretty popular in its day. It closed in 2019. Um, So that was great. I love doing that. I love sound. I love doing sound, mixing sound, music. Um, but alongside that, my father was a great influence as far as my environmental sensibilities. He worked in environmental stewardship with the federal government
Oh, wow.
for since well, he started out in the as a wildlife manager in the state of Ohio, and then he got a job with the federal government and various agencies, Department of Interior, uh, Corps of Engineers for a little while. Yeah, but he kind of instilled in me this appreciation for the outdoors. We went camping a lot, and so in the '90s, when I think I was actually on a tour with Jesse Colin Young at the time. I read this book, Jeremy Rifkin. I think it's called Hot House Earth. I wish I could remember the title of it, but it inspired me to think about climate change. And I read Al Gore's book, Earth in the Balance, and one thing led to another. And I was, um, getting involved with online stuff, and I grabbed the domain globalwarmingisreal.com and just started doing it. And then I got a writing gig, a journalism gig with triplepundit.com, a sustainable business online media outfit. They're still going strong, I think, and that afforded me a lot of. I learned a lot first off as far as how to be a journalist.
Hmm.
Talked to a lot of all sorts of people, from policymakers to scientists to entrepreneurs, and I was able to cover COP 15 and COP 21, the global climate conferences. At COP 21 was where the Paris Agreement was signed. With that was great. That was inspiring time to be there for that. Um, so what happened with me? I was very fortunate. I had these two different career lines going, and the oddly enough, the music career was steady, whereas the journalism career, was steady but not quite a living. And so I was able to do both. Um, and then the show I was working for steady stopped being steady. It closed finally after 45 years of being in production, which is pretty awesome for any theatrical production to survive. It closed in the New Year's Eve 2019, which is a good. It was planned. Everybody knew like for 6 months they were going to close the show, so everybody was prepared. And the reason I say that is if it had wandered into 2020,
My goodness.
yeah, it would have been bad. It would have been
It would have closed
literally.
anyway.
It would have closed and it would have been overnight. Everybody would have had nothing else to go to, and
Yeah.
so it closed. And then that was in San Francisco. And in 2020, I won't go into long details about why we moved here into the Monterey Bay Area. San Francisco just became problematic to remain there with landlords and things. But anyway, so we landed here in the Monterey Bay Area, and since then I've been doing my globalwarmingisreal.com, writing for occasionally for some other publications, doing some editing, and then earlier this year I started my podcast, which I really enjoy because it combines the audio, my audio nerd side, the writing, the being able to talk to folks like you and review books, and it's really gives me an opportunity to reach out and do the things that I love and talk to people that are really interesting, and I think I would like to give a voice to if I could.
Yes, same. I hear that totally.
Yeah.
What a life you've lived. My goodness. But so, I mean, you have written a book, right?
I'm writing a book.
You're
Uh,
writing a book.
I'm
Okay.
writing a book. Yeah, yeah.
And what is the
Uh,
book called? Or
the
does
book
it
is
have a name yet?
the book is tentatively titled "Learning to Live in the Anthropocene."
That's right.
Yes,
Okay. And
and
the podcast is currently called Global Warming is Real, but it is
that's right.
potentially under a rebrand.
Yeah, I'm thinking of rebranding it. Right now, I'm thinking about rebranding it to Earthbound, just to expand it a little bit. Then what I found, global warming is real, which of course it is, and it has been my brand for 20 years. But the podcast is kind of spread out a little bit beyond just the climate thing. Though I mean, I have to say, just the climate thing. I mean, that's kind of it's all about the climate eventually. But anyway, I wanted to spread out a little bit with it, just expand the title a little bit. And I have found in my experience of running globalwarmingisreal.com is that um, in today's divisive environment, just that title, people get angry sometimes.
People either love you or hate you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can preach to the choir all day long. I'm trying to find a way to reach people. There's that 20, 30, I don't know how, there's that block of people that I will never reach. I believe it or not, it took me a little while to accept that, but I've accepted that now. But there's the people that, that aren't like you and me that are just kind of immersed in this thing every day.
Mhm.
They're living their lives, they're raising their families, they're buying groceries and things, and they don't have a lot of bandwidth left to think about climate change. It might seem overwhelming. And so I'm just trying to find a way to connect with those folks,
Mhm.
as well as, preaching to the choir is okay. It's great to expand your.
Oh, for
I'm
sure.
reading this. Reading this interesting book right now called "Somebody Should Do Something," and it's about how to create social change. And it's one point he said was even if what you're doing seems like individually pointless, like if I do my recycling, I put the thing in the recycling bin, you can easily think this is not making any difference whatsoever. And that could be an interesting point because probably that one individual act isn't making much difference at all. But um, it's the I recycle, I'm recycling, so somebody else thinks, well, I'll recycle too, and it spreads out from there. So even if you feel like your individual act is helpless, um, just the social act of doing it can create influence.
Right.
So
Yeah. Like lead by example, that type
yeah,
of thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Have you seen the I think it's a meme there let's see, one person saying, I don't know how this is gonna make a difference with like their one water bottle, and then it says, then there's like this blurb that said 1 billion people or something, so there's
Yeah,
like
yeah. I haven't
pile
seen
of
that,
water
but
of
right.
plastic
Yeah.
water bottles. Like I don't see where this is gonna make a difference, but if everyone says that, it gets out of control for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally understand that. And the book that you're reading makes me think of a past podcast guest of mine, Brittany Hansen. She actually started her own podcast called Who's Going to Fix This?
Oh, really?
And it's a
Oh,
really great podcast.
I'll check that out.
But so I'm curious in you've been doing this for 20 years, but
Mm.
you sort of grew up in this, but like what have been a couple of big moments that you've learned in all of your studies and all the work that you've done, the people that you've talked to? Like, are there a couple of things that stand out for you?
Well, I alluded to COP 21. That's one thing that really stood out to me. That was a moment where I actually felt that there was the global motivation to do something. I had been to, I mentioned I was at COP 15 in 2009, and it was the exact opposite. By the time I arrived on scene, I was thinking it was the second day. It felt like all the negotiations were already, nothing was going to happen.
Mm,
So that was one thing. The other thing that I think I've learned over the years, especially when I was writing for Triple Pundit, a couple of the good and the bad with sustainable business. One is that there are really some um, caring, engaged, authentic entrepreneurs, business leaders that are trying to do what they can to make a difference.
hmm
And I have learned that they're out there. The problem is that uh, they have to fight against greenwashing. The perception and I think that the public maybe is getting kind of wide. They hear some companies say blah 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 about how their water bottle is sustainable or something like that, and people go, I don't know, which is unfortunate because there are people that are trying to find plastic. Let's just talk about plastic. I was at a conference, tour. Oh, wow. I was going to say 2 or 3 years ago. It's been more like 8 years ago, but um, and we're talking about plastic. And there was a scientist, a material scientist, uh, talking about how I don't want to live in a world without plastic, and frankly, we're kind of stuck with it. But I think his point was there's different ways to make plastic to manufacture this material. And I don't know what I'm talking about right now. Maybe, do you know anything about plastic material?
I don't know of a sustainable plastic. Like it's
Yeah,
all, it's all gonna be here forever, and it's
yeah,
once you like melt it down to use it again, it's less strong and not as so I don't
right, right. So I think what he was getting at was
like bioplastics, like plant
bioplastics,
plastic.
when that can get to be a slippery slope too.
Yeah.
But I think my point here is that he was trying to, it's not one thing that comes up in this book that somebody should do something is there's a big either or mentality with it's either you're either uh, you know uh, into sustainability, and if you get on a plane, how can you actually do that? How can you? And it's it's both and
Yeah.
this either or, black and white,
All in or all out.
all in,
Yeah.
or if you do, or if you actually are caught with a plastic water bottle, you somehow, it
Shame.
happens. It's hard. Okay, I'm going to go off on all sorts of tangents here, but the other thing about all this is that I think we as consumers we're expected. I mean, this has kind of been foisted in a big way upon us. Um, I remember back in the '60s. This is going to come up. This little story is going to be in my next podcast episode. In the '60s, I was in Colorado. 8, 9, 10 years old, and we were suburban neighborhood, and we had this little wooden box on our front porch, and we'd put our empty milk bottles in it every week, and then the milkman will come by and take the empties out, put the fresh milk in,
Mm,
and circular. It was a circular economic kind of process, and we had it. We were everybody. That's just the way it was, and it worked. I mean, there's no problem. What's the problem with we didn't have to deal. All we had to do with the empties was put them in the wooden box.
right.
And now look where we are now. I mean, we've somehow that's been taken away. And I don't think it was a consumer decision. I think it was some sort of economic decision, plastic. And so, again, my point is that when consumers can feel so overwhelmed that anything they do is the wrong thing, they're not recycling enough, that they have a plastic milk jug and they look at it and go, "Oh my God, what am I doing to the earth?"
Mhm.
Well, it's not your fault, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, give yourself a break. It's more of a systemic issue. I think that products have been completely divorced of their life cycle. And so we have this completely linear economy. Use it, throw it away, get a new one. Use it, throw it away, get a new, as opposed to the glass milk bottle
Right.
where it kept being reused. And that was a simple solution. It was circular, and we've kind of lost our touch with those ideas.
Right. Well, and if I can just add to that a little bit, I mean, just on the milk subject, even like if
Uh-huh.
you go to my local Kroger there's a local creamery that does the glass bottles, and I'll buy it there. But if I go anywhere else, the options are plastic or the carton. So if I'm like, ooh, I really don't want to do plastic, I'm going to do a carton, but then the carton like is not recyclable or compostable, and it still has the plastic lining, and just like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's not much choice, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I hear that totally. And I think I agree
Yeah,
completely. I just,
yeah.
there's like but we need to do something, just like do our own little thing, even if it's just recycling or,
Hmm.
going with glass if we can, or,
Yeah,
I mean, there are some things that we can't get around. They're just things are not all in glass or
right, right.
steel or whatever.
Another book I read, and I think I reviewed it in my podcast. It's called Catastrophe Ethics. It's by Travis Reeder. I think it's Reider, I believe. Anyway, it addresses that. It's the feeling of just helplessness in the
Mm,
face of um, that. The way around that is just decide what you care about and just act on those values. Even if you don't think it's making a difference, at least you're acting in your own values, and that will spread. If people are being authentic with what they're doing. If you want to get a Hummer and coal roll people, fine, do it. Whatever. If that floats your boat,
right.
you know, do
Yeah.
it.
And the
But
travel thing is so tricky because we need to get away. And
yeah, yeah,
there's literally, that's another one that you're just like, I'm going to do my best all the rest of the time.
right. Yeah, and that's true.
We have
I
to pick
have
our
to I
battles.
have well, I have to admit, well, there's many reasons why I'm never going to go to another COP conference. One of them is just I think the whole process has kind of gone off the rails. But the other reason was when the Paris Agreement, the COP 21 was over, and I climbed aboard this huge airplane You go, yeah, this isn't really quite. This doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mm.
Um, for I mean, I'm totally grateful I was able to go there and cover it, and I interviewed a bunch of great people, and it was a good experience. But then to climb aboard an airplane and fly all the way from Paris to San Francisco, I just kind of felt this tinge of um, you know,
Yeah.
uh, what's the word? Conflict
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well,
So
and knowing that there are probably hundred
yeah,
or
I
more other people doing the
was
same
not
thing.
the only one. Of course, that said, like you mentioned, people got to get away, and I think people need to see other parts of the world. They need to get out of their own
Hmm.
neighborhood. And so I think travel is important. That, which again is why, if you get on an airplane and fly somewhere, even if it is to a cop conference, it doesn't, that's the world we live in.
Yeah,
If you want to get somewhere, we don't have a lot of options.
that's true.
I guess you could well, you can't take the train to Paris, but
That's true. Yeah. I mean, but you just, we have to do what we have to do.
yeah, you have
And
to do what you have to do. Yeah, you have to live your life. I haven't heard this. Nobody's thrown this in my face for quite a while, but I used to get all this. I don't want to live in a cave. You want to live in a cave, and I don't
I
want to
don't want
live
to live
in
in
a
a cave.
cave either. What I mean, what are these people come up with these ideas?
Yeah. You don't have like, I mean, like you were saying before, you have people think that it's like all or nothing,
Right? Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
And it's not, we're not perfect people. We're just doing the best that we can.
right.
And you still need to do things. And
Still
everything
need to
is
do
not going to
things.
be sustainable because the world is not sustainable.
The world's not. No, we do not live in a sustainable world right now, and so you got to live, and yeah, we just got to do what we can. I think just being aware, awareness, and try to live your values as best you can.
Amen.
Yeah,
Absolutely that. And so I just want to let's see. So you are a member of the Society of Environmental Journalists.
I am. Yes, yes.
That sounds like
They're
a big deal.
well, they're a great organization. Um, they have a yearly conference, which I did get on an airplane, but it was only to Phoenix, which is like an hour from here on the airplane. Um, uh, it is a great organization for journalists, obviously, and they're really starting to focus more on freelancers like me. And it's a great way to meet other people. One of the Speaking of meeting people, one person I met at the conference last April was this young guy from Nepal who's a graduate student studying journalism in the United States here. So he's a foreign student, and I asked him. Uh, I don't. We were. I think we were waiting to take a tour, a little bus tour about how Phoenix is dealing with the heat. And I asked him, "Well, how you feeling?" Because he was a foreign student, and he just kind of, "Oh, thank you so much for asking." He was just. Matter of fact, I haven't heard from him for a while. Hopefully he's okay. But he was really concerned about. He came into the United States when it was still a welcoming place for foreign journalists from Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it kind of the tables turned on him, and he's kind of struggling with what he's going to do. And he wants to get his doctorate. So he wants to stay in the U.S., but I don't know how that's going to go. So I guess just such a wide range, people like that, a young student to people that have been in the business forever. Um, uh, Los Angeles, there's this one I can't remember his name, but a lot of great journalists. I don't know. It's just a great experience to
Yeah.
confab with all these different journalists.
Yeah.
So it's a great organization, and they have great all sorts of great information. It's a great source for news on various aspects, and yeah. So SEJ is a great organization.
Very cool. All right. And what type of thing when you are writing? So it looks like you write for businesses, for organizations. Is that correct?
I have written for both. I've written for businesses. I've done some like uh, semi PR stuff, I guess. I have to admit a little bit pays the bills and yeah. So businesses, organizations. I have written Triple Pennant was a big one. I had a couple articles in Slate. Um, right now, I'm really focused on just doing my own thing, though I'm certainly open if anybody wants to hire me. I'm available. But I really focused on the podcast right now. Is is the
Right.
thing.
Well, and you said you've got a film in progress as well that you've
I
been
do
working on.
the story of packaging. Jesse Burlow, filmmaker, and I came up with this idea a few years ago, and we have some initial footage done. These are the kind of projects where nobody's funding it right now, and so we do what we can. But it's around basically that story I told you about 1960s milk. uh,
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the germ of this idea of the story of packaging and um, how our lives have become so turned around by this idea of instant delivery and uh, the Amazon effect, perhaps we could call it, and how even if you wanted to buy something locally, it's impossible almost. I'll give you a story from my audio engineering days. There, back in the day, 20 years ago or so, um, in San Francisco, there were stores. There were places, professional audio stores where you go for professional audio. And now it's really, of course, I live in an area where that wouldn't be so much a thing here in the Monterey Bay Area. But even in San Francisco, the stores were closing, and to get any professional audio, you had to go to what could be called the Amazon of pro audio, Sweetwater Sound.
Hmm.
Though I like Sweetwater more than I like Amazon, so I don't want to compare the two. But to again, it's like you got to do what you got to do, and so now you just kind of have to do online shopping, and so there's this package, and the expectation has grown that um, I order it like now. It's almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon where I am. Well, if I ordered something, I want it tomorrow morning, and
Hmm.
well, that expectation
You
of
know, it's
instant
delivered by
delivery.
humans.
Yeah, I I did one time I did a same day delivery. I don't even remember what it's for. This is a few years ago in San Francisco, and sure enough, about 9:30 that night, some bedraggled poor guy uh, delivered the thing, and I didn't need it that day. I mean, I put it in my office, and I don't even know what it was, and this is crazy, and I felt so bad for the guy. It looked like he had been delivering these silly packages, you know, since the night before or something. And
Yeah.
so these expectations that there have been kind of it gets back to the my idea that a lot of this um, economic situation that we're in right now has been foisted upon us, or sustainability that we Amazon said, well, we can just they've pushed out all the local retailers, and then they've given us this expectation that we can have a truck drive up and deliver something
Yeah. Same day.
same day, same day.
I know
And
the convenience has really like
yeah,
it's like made us less good people. And that's like not the right word, but you know,
but I
it's
know what you mean. Yeah, it's
so like lazy and
yeah, there's a laxity involved. It's as opposed to
that's a better
going out to a store that probably doesn't exist anymore. But if there were a store to get whatever you needed to get, you go,
yeah.
I'll just go to my phone and order it, and
I don't have to go out.
I don't have to go out. Yeah, yeah. These food organization or companies. There's one that we tried. We were going to give it a shot, but uh, big box full of all this stuff that keeps the food cold. And I actually contacted them and said, "Can we send this back to you?" And they go, nope. you, you got to
Yeah.
recycle it. If you can't recycle it, you can go to a recycling center. And what, again, why are you putting that burden on me?
Hmm. Yeah, I've had the same conversation.
Yeah, have you? Yeah,
But
they
it's like dry ice and all the plastic packaging, and I'm,
right,
oh my gosh, like the it's not worth it for me to, I just I can't justify that in my head.
right. No, it's hard.
It works for some people.
Yeah, sure. And again, if it works, it works. But this company was kind of claimed because theoretically this stuff was recyclable, but I'm pretty sure that our local, it's going to end up in landfill.
Mhm.
Um, don't claim you're sustainable. That's all. Just be honest with people. You're going to have this packaging. You're going to have to deal with it, and we're not sustainable. So, but they're never going to do that. So, um,
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean the convenience has really changed a lot, like just making things so convenient. And I've had this conversation before, but like, in like World War II, I think things got really, plastic became a really big thing and everything was individually packaged just to make it so much easier. And,
mhm,
people can work and then come home and have dinner in half an hour and
yeah,
not spend all day
yeah.
slaving because everything is
TB
all
dinner.
prepared for you. Um, and as much as I appreciate that, there's just so much, and it just snowballed.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything
That,
plastic.
post World War II, that what won World War II was the manufacturing might of the United States, and the war ended, and so all that manufacturing might had to go somewhere, and it went into making plastic TV dinners, I guess. And here we are.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Yes, but um, let's end this on a happy note.
Okay, yeah.
So tell me a couple of things that I know that I've listened to a few of your episodes. I remember the one that you had with I don't remember the girl's name, but she was talking about like disaster.
Oh,
This is not a
yeah,
happy story, but just like, some of the conversations you're having are really, really in depth and really interesting. So I really enjoy that. Um, and I know I listened to your shorty that came out this past week, the one about sausage. I was
oh, this the
I was
black
confused about that.
black. Yeah. So that's good to know. I didn't mean to confuse people. Okay. The one about the disaster preparedness was Jennifer Hall. Am I getting the name? I believe it was Jennifer Haller. Um,
That's right.
and she wanted to figure out a way to um, be prepared, prepper for non-preppers. So she went down the rabbit hole with preppers, and it's all this crazy conspiracy theory, right wing.
Disaster, yes.
Yeah.
Real
And she wanted to find, how about we just kind of keep this, like, how do you prepare for disaster? And so she went with that tack, and she talks about how to build community. That's one of the overarching themes of the people I've
Mm,
talked to is community. When I ask them um, solutions and what do you see for hope, and they always kind of one way or another get back to community. Um, and so she was talking about know your neighbors. That's one good thing to help survive
for sure.
whatever might come down the pike. And then the last shorty you listened to, I think what I was trying to get at there was what it was talking about. I was basically just reading an old article about one of these fulfillment centers that work for Amazon and the working conditions. And there were just these terrible stories about this woman who was harassed, sexually harassed, and she was pregnant, and she wasn't feeling well, and she wanted to go home, and they refused. They didn't let her go home, and then they suggested that maybe she should get. This is going to be awful for me to say, but they suggested, from my research, they suggested that she get an abortion as opposed to take care of her child. And she went home that night because she wasn't feeling well. By the time she made it home, that evening she miscarried her child. Stories like that. Somebody just from the oppressive heat and no ventilation, somebody just collapsing and dying on the production floor. And so the bit about how the sausage is made was, the phrase, knowing how the sausage is made.
I don't. And
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
where
oh, oh,
I
okay.
got confused.
Okay.
I was
So
like, is this a food episode? And then I was like,
no,
I
no.
don't know. I think
So
that's
that,
just me not being in touch with
or just I don't know, maybe it's me making the stuff up, but how the sausage is made, because sausage is full of,
part.
like a hot dog is kind of, so knowing how the sausage is made kind of makes you not want to eat the sausage.
Hmm.
And so that was, if you actually knew what goes on to get your little Chotsky in a box and on your porch, you might not do it as much.
Yeah. Got
That was the thrust of
it.
that short article. Yeah.
Um, but I think that what you're doing is so important, Tom, and I so
Thank you.
appreciate it, especially, now that we've had the chance to talk a couple of times and
Yeah.
just trade stories. And I think that um gosh, I mean 20 years is a long time to be doing this. And how do you keep light?
It's difficult sometimes, but I have found that I'm very fortunate. I live in the Monterey Bay area, and anybody's familiar with the Monterey Bay area, it's a beautiful area. So basically, get outside. I
Hmm.
think that's touch grass. Even you'll have to live in Monterey Bay area. There's beauty out there,
Hmm.
and to hold on, to be grateful for what is there, and that can inspire. The more grateful you are for what's out there, maybe it inspires you to want to do something to save it.
Oh, that's
Uh,
a good one.
yeah,
Yeah, and you do live in a beautiful area, so that's really great. And
yeah,
I'm sure that you learned that early on with your dad.
I did, I
So
did.
that's
Yeah,
good.
that was,
That's
yeah.
good that you had that. Um, so what I know we've talked about this a lot, but like personally, Tom, what does the word sustainability mean to you?
Sustainability means to me that the um, actions that we're taking don't foreclose the future. Uh, that we can sustain our lives now without impinging on lives of our children, grandchildren, and what is it, seventh generation? I'm not sure which community thinks it's 7 generations ahead. I think sustainability is just living, basically, in a way, living within our means. I think we've gotten this idea due to our economic. I'm not necessarily anti-capitalist, but I do see the flaws in it, and I think the idea that perpetual growth. I think that we have this idea that we live on an infinite planet with infinite resources, and we don't. And
Hmm.
so sustainability is living within our means.
I like that. Okay. Um, I had a thought about that and I lost it, but I think that's very valid. I think it was something like you were saying we act like it's infinite, but comes at a cost, having
Yeah,
access and stuff like that. But there's a cost for all of that.
there
So
is.
that's a good one. I mean, just
And I think, and every we all need a certain level of um, comfort, like food, shelter,
yeah,
um, but I think at a certain point, it doesn't make us any better off or any happier. Or do we think Elon Musk is a happy person? I don't think so. And he's the wealthiest man on the planet. So, well, you mean wealthiest? We can talk about that for a while, but
right.
uh,
For sure. Okay. And so how can people get more of Tom Schueneman? Like how can people find you?
well, you can find me at globalwarmingisreal.com. And you can also find the podcast there. Whatever name I end up landing on, it'll be there. Uh, and if you want to email me, so my DBA, my doing business as, is TDS, my initials TDS Environmental Media. So if you want to email me at Tom at TDS, as Tom David Schueneman, environmentalmedia.com, I'd be happy to, you know, don't be too mean, but no, I'd be happy to talk to anybody. If you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to hear from people.
That's an awesome email address. Environmental media.
Yeah.
Happens when you do it for a while.
Yeah,
I'll have to up my game someday. Um, that's awesome. And I know you're on Instagram,
I am.
sort
I
of.
am on Instagram. Yeah. Not much. I mean, uh, I'm still figuring out. I know to some of the people it's going to sound silly, but I'm still figuring Instagram out, but I'm there.
Well, it's
Yeah.
changing all the time. I heard
Yeah.
that there are new updates all the time. I just do what I do and cross my fingers, I guess.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
But anyway, so Tom Schueneman, thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to get to talk to somebody who is like-minded and with so much experience. It's just it's such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. This has been, yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yay.
Yeah.